Hello, I'm Dave Speakman. This week we're going to look at recording yourself on acoustic guitar, a few challenges that presents. We're going to look at just plugging the guitar straight into your interface, into your preamps. We're also going to look at a few different microphone types and decide why we might want to use each of these microphones for different settings. There are a few little tips and tricks along the way. Please do like the video and subscribe to my channel, and let's see if there's anything that we can learn together about acoustic guitars. There are a few things that we need to bear in mind when we're recording acoustic guitars. In essence, recording an acoustic guitar is quite simple. You stick a microphone in front of it or plug it in, and it should sound pretty good. The most important thing really is the guitar itself and how good that guitar is. If you want a sort of nasty, dirty sounding guitar, then you wouldn't use a guitar like this. You'd use a guitar that kind of sounds nasty and dirty to start with. And if you wanted something that sounded bigger, you'd probably use like a dreadnought guitar, and that's better for strumming chords on. Things for finger picking, things like that, sound really good on these sort of triple O or parlour size guitars. There's some fairly obvious things that you need to think about when recording. The first thing is to just be in tune and just keep on tuning your guitar over and over again. Even if you think that it sounds okay, I would retune it in between every take and just make sure that it's in tune. The age of the strings can make a massive difference to how the guitar sounds. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to use new strings for every time you record, because that might not be the sound that you're after. But new strings have a bright, zingy sound that is quite pleasing. I tend to find that strings that have been on for about 5 or 6 days are usually where I like them to sound. So I would tend to restring my guitar a few days before a session and give it a good playing in. One of the difficulties of acoustic guitars is that they're fairly quiet instruments, and often we want them to be quite prominent in the mix. Recording an acoustic guitar that needs to go in a band mix, you can get away with a lot more than you can if it's on its own. One of the real problems is that you get a lot of noises with acoustic guitars. I'm sure we've all heard acoustic guitar recordings where it gets to the end and there's a little creak of the guitar or something like that. My advice would be to take anything out of your pockets, make sure that you've not got a shirt on with hard buttons or anything that can tap against the guitar, because these little tap sounds, particularly if we're using a sensitive microphone, they're really going to be picked up and they're going to spoil the recording. This is especially prudent if it's a recording of a solo acoustic guitar, or it's just a guitar and a voice and the guitar's really exposed. These noises can really get in the way. Another thing is to make sure that what you sat on is really firm. I use drum stools when I'm recording acoustic guitars because they tend to be quite quiet and give me a good solid bass. It's often a good idea to record to a click track. If you are going to record to a click track, it's a good idea to get some in-ear monitors or good headphones. In-ear monitors offer more isolation than headphones do, so they're a really good acquisition. Often people will record a guide track of what they're going to record. So if it was a singer and guitarist, the singer would lay down a track of them playing both the things together and singing, and then they will go back and overdub the bits that they want to replace. Sometimes this doesn't get the vibe that you want, but sometimes that could be a really useful way of getting a pristine sound whilst maintaining kind of the vibe of the way that the performer plays, because they can hear themselves and they can sing along to themselves. You might often find, if you're trying to record yourself and you just try and record the guitar part on its own without the vocals to start with, but it's quite difficult and it's fairly easy to lose track of the structure of this tune that you're playing. Particularly if it's a song that you've written and you're used to just singing it and playing it together. It's quite different when you're not doing the two things together. So recording a quick guide track can be quite useful. In a home environment, one of the things that usually poses the biggest problem is often noise from other inhabitants of the house or from outside. Even birds singing outside or your neighbour shutting a door can come across on the recording, and that can be quite off-putting. Ways to minimise that would be to just record at quieter times. If you've got to record something at home that's quite quiet, then record it when everything is quieter, usually at night. Most of your neighbours or housemates aren't going to be bothered about you playing your acoustic guitar at sort of 10 PM, so that might be a good way of getting around it. The simplest way to record an acoustic guitar, if it has a pickup, is literally to plug your guitar straight into your audio interface. I've actually plugged straight into my preamps here, these Universal Audio 4710 preamps. So this guitar actually has two pickups inside it. So we have just a piezoelectric pickup, and then we also have a microphone which I can blend in. So we just need to make sure on the preamp that as we're playing that we're getting minus and we want to give it a good play really. We want to sort of strum quite hard and give it a good whack. Acoustic guitars are really prone to clipping. You get little transients, which is essentially when it goes from there being no sound to a lot of sound immediately. And these little transients sometimes clip your converters and make it sound fairly bad. This is the guitar just plugged straight into the preamp, and it's just using the piezoelectric pickup. This is a D-Tar Wavelength pickup. Cool. If I blend in the microphone part of the pickup, so as I said, this pickup has a piezoelectric pickup and it also has a small microphone inside it as well, you'll hear that the sound will open up a little bit here. So it's already quite a usable sound actually, just using the guitar going straight into the preamp with a blend of the piezoelectric pickup and the microphone. I quite often will always take a DI from a guitar wherever it's available. If I was recording an acoustic guitar player and they were singing at the same time, using a DI'd signal as well as a microphone on the guitar, using a DI'd signal will enable me to control the reverb on the guitar. So for example, I could put a fairly wide sounding reverb on the acoustic guitar, and that's not going to give more width to the voice because very little of the voice will be coming through the guitar's pickup. So it enables me to have a wide reverb sound on the acoustic guitar while still keeping the voice bang down the middle. The first microphone that I've set up to record with is a Shure SM57. A Shure SM57 is very similar to a Shure SM58. On Shure's website, they actually say that it is the same capsule before anyone kicks off. It's what it says on Shure's website. The difference is that the SM58 has this big grill on the front of it, which is basically like a big pop filter. And you can see that actually, without the grill, it looks fairly similar to a 57. There's another 57 down here. So they look quite similar without the grill. I think though, there is another little grill on the front of the 57 that isn't there when the grill's taken off the 58. So they don't quite sound identical. If you take the grill off a 58, it won't sound exactly like a 57. But if you've got a 58, I would definitely consider taking the grill off and experimenting with recording an acoustic guitar. You could also just leave the grill on and record an acoustic guitar like that. One of the things that you'll find when using a dynamic microphone, like an SM57, to record a quiet source like an acoustic guitar, is that it will need quite a lot of gain. And depending on the quality of your audio interface, that might introduce unwanted noise. Now again, if this is going to be in a band mix or something like that, the noise might be acceptable. If it was an acoustic guitar on its own, in isolation, you might decide that the noise is not acceptable and you might want to use a different microphone. So this is the sound of the SM57 just on its own. Again, we're heading for 18 dBFS. That's the level that we want to be recording it at. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the DI signal back into that. And I'm going to leave the internal microphone down completely. And I'll turn the microphone back up. I might just go back and forth between the DI and the SM57 a few times just so that we can hear what that's doing. Okay, so I'll add the microphone of the acoustic guitar back in as well now. So now we've got, it's the DI coming from the guitar, which is both the Piezo electric pickup, and the internal microphone of the guitar with the SM57 as well. So they're all usable sounds really, but each one has its own quality. We're going to switch the microphone over now to a condenser mic. Condenser mics are more sensitive than dynamic microphones are, but they also require phantom power from your audio interface. So if you see a 48V, you switch that on if you're using a condenser microphone. The microphone that I'm using here is an Oktavia MK-012, a fairly affordable mic actually. I think they're about 300 or 400 quid for a pair, and they're really, really high quality. You would have to spend a lot more money to get anything that's an improvement on it. I've got some Telefunken microphones here that are higher end than these, but I wouldn't think twice about using these in the same place as the Telefunken mics. So let's just listen to the capacitor mic on its own, or the condenser mic, capacitor mic, tomato, tomato. Good. So I'm going to go back and forth between the SM57 and the MK-012. So the SM57 is a dynamic microphone, the MK-012 is a condenser microphone. Now I'll add a little bit of the de-eyed signal into the condenser microphone and we'll listen to how that sounds. Cool. So again, all of these sounds are quite usable. If I was in a home environment and I was struggling with the acoustics, I'm in the control room at the studio here, and the acoustics in here are fairly dead. There's not a lot of early reflections. So I might reach for something like this. And in fairness, I might use something like this at the studio as well. So this is just a portable acoustic panel, and I'll kind of put this next to the guitarist. Have a listen, see if we can hear any difference. So I'll tell you what, we'll just do the condenser microphone on its own with the panel, and then I'll shift it and do it without, and I'll just play something quick and simple. You shift it. Sometimes that can give a slightly closer sound. It's a subtle thing. But when we're recording, it's all lots of subtle things that build up to create a bigger thing. And the more improvements we make as we layer things up, the better a sound we're going to get overall. So today really we've just looked at mono miking of a guitar. If you'd like me to look at stereo miking of a guitar, please do let me know in the comments below and we can do some stereo stuff. Stereo miking of a guitar poses some problems really, because we have a 3-to-1 rule in recording, which is that the microphones are supposed to be 3 times the distance from each other as they are from the sound source. And that's quite tricky with an acoustic guitar. We can definitely look at that. I will record an acoustic guitar in stereo quite frequently in the studio. If I was at home doing a home recording, I think that I would just use one microphone, because that's going to minimise problems with the acoustics of your room, and it's going to minimise phase problems, which is when different signals from different microphones combine in certain ways, and that's either an additive process or a subtractive process. We can talk about that in future videos if it interests you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed the video. I hope that you found it useful. If there's anything that you'd like me to cover in more detail, please do let me know in the comments below. More than happy to revisit this subject more than once. I just did what I could do really in the circumstances, which is that I have to do everything on my own, and kind of in one place. I can't really be moving too much stuff back and fro. For obvious reasons, I'm just walking to work and then I'm walking home again. I'm trying to minimize travel as well, so I don't want to be coming back and fro lots of times. Please do like the video and please do subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications, hit the alarm bell so that you're notified every time that there's a new video coming out. That would really help me. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Dave Speakman. Thank you. Goodbye.